What's a non-obvious sign that someone is poor low income? Their willingness to help others. Low income people understand better than anyone when someone's having a rough go. This doesn't mean financial help, as odds are they can't really help you there, but anyway they can, they probably will. They don't talk about the future, because deep down they know it's not going to get better and there's so many fires they put out day to day they don't have the time or energy. Wealthier people can plan way in advance, especially because they have more time, more financial stability, and usually vacation time. Well, that got a bit personal for me. One co-worker tries constantly to tell me it's not so bad and give me advice I can't afford. He, 35-ish, invested well, kept the same job since high school, 16 plus years, bought his house during the recession, and is single without kids. I, 33, go day to day barely above the poverty line hoping to get hit by a bus. Everything expensive is measured in how many months worth of groceries it could buy. So much this. My wife and I aren't destitute, but we are definitely poor. If I have to buy something other than food I find myself thinking how many pounds of chicken I could get for that money. Constant transportation issues. Being poor is the only reason I learned to fix cars. Never buy new socks underwear. Not want people to come to their house. Jesus frick, this is relatable. Being very appreciative of the little things, like a cup of coffee, or insisting you'd never need to pay them back. I just moved and asked my great uncle for a loan of $750 to pay half of my rent last month because crap is expensive. He just told me yesterday that I didn't have to pay him back. He's probably my favorite uncle. Picking up every second of available overtime. Source: I'm poor. I cover mad shifts at work cause I have literally no life. Better to be making money than sitting in my room doing nothing. Hygiene. The school I work at just turned one of the coaches' locker rooms into a room for kids to take showers in. They come to school, one of us steals them for first period. They take a shower and are given some comfy clothes to hang out in while we wash and dry what they came to school in. They don't want to wear a new outfit because other kids will know they changed. We pretend we're taking them for speech therapy or something. One girl wears her dad's old t-shirts that smell like men's body odor really badly. One student said that his parents let all their friends live with them so he doesn't get to take a shower anymore because they all share the one bathroom. I took a 16-year-old girl to our hygiene supply closet and said she could take whatever she wanted. She started sobbing. She never had deodorant or her own toothpaste. Not inviting people to their house. I've always been the poor girl out of all my friends and the most embarrassing part was always avoiding inviting them to my house because I know their houses are double the size and absolutely sparkling. I've been to my friends' houses and their foyer alone is as large as my room. Everything in my house looks clearly dated, when I know theirs has modern furnishings and granite countertops. Refusing invitations to or finding excuses to not go shopping, out to dinners, bars, movies, etc. Most people think you are antisocial or a recluse when the truth is that you just can't afford to participate. I'd get so mad when my significant other would say things like you never want to go out with my friends. I always remind her I want to, but her and her friends literally make 10-20x more money a year than I do and they all like to split the tab at fancy restaurants. Not about to drop 3 figures on a casual Tuesday night dinner. I'm a doctor and one thing I haven't seen mentioned is being late to appointments. A lot of time my really sick patients have little support and rely on a friend to drive them or sometimes even walking long distances. So they might be late, but it's because they're at the mercy of a neighbor or acquaintance who might be running them to the hospital before work, on a lunch break, etc. I always see late patients for that reason. Driving for Lyft in Detroit, I found that a lot of the people I was picking up from really low income neighborhoods smelled like fried food, but like the smell of old cooking oil. Maybe from fast food jobs, maybe from cooking fried food at home in a studio apartment so all their clothes smelled like it. Maybe just not doing laundry, or some fourth thing I'm not aware of, but that was a frequently recurring theme when picking up or dropping off in low income areas. That's fast food work. All that grease is floating around the air when you start cooking with it. Getting that smell in your hair is the worst. All vacations they talk about are for visiting family. This is a really good one. My wealthy friends travel with family to fun places. My poor friends travel to family. I grew up pretty poor. Almost all my recipes I learned included a can of cream of mushroom soup or tomato paste. That stuff thins out well. I used to add water to almost everything, because that can of soup has got to feed at least 2 or 3 people. I didn't know this was weird until I had a guest who asked why I was diluting their soup. Also, I had super boring white, ratty socks. They don't eat lunch at work. It's saved me lots of money. I lived off brown sugar oatmeal for lunch for 3 years. I can't even look at a box of it now. What they think of as fond memories. I have a dad who grew up poor, and whenever he talks about his childhood his stories are always super sad because a lot of them involve my grandma working multiple jobs to support the family or him working crap jobs at a very young age and bringing the pay home to help out or some other sign of poverty, and they kind of depress everyone. But it always makes him happy to reminisce on those memories, because to him they are the happiest memories in the world. Avoiding doctors or hospitals, as the bills are way out of their league. A strong fear of police too, since the ticket would put them in a financial nightmare if they don't have the charisma to talk themselves out of it. Had a friend in college who had to purchase the school's insurance since she was uninsured, and still refused to go to the doctors. She claimed she hasn't gone since she was a child and she was too nervous to go. Super sad actually. Fish antibiotics but no fish. This is very true. I managed to kick an IV heroin habit a few years back. Fish antibiotic is a common thing for addicts with untreated abscesses. Scary to think about. They overreact when you grab the tab at dinner or a bar. For me it's no big thing, but they overthank me. I overthank because there's no guarantee that I can return the favor. If I can, it's no big deal. They usually don't make jokes about being poor. I know my experience isn't representative of everyone's, but most of my life I lived below the poverty line, and I made jokes about it quite frequently, with my friends though, not just with anybody, but I am one of those people who uses humor as a coping mechanism. During the time of my parents' bankruptcy and the poverty years that followed, some of my friends could never understand why I couldn't join them to catch a movie, go out for dinner, go on holiday, etc. It even made some of them angry during some discussions, which made me quite sad. I've had to fend for myself since 15, and they get everything they need from their parents. So even though they knew about my situation, they couldn't fathom how a small thing like a movie ticket would be a hard time for me. They threw it on me being a bee about not wanting to come, even after I explained it. Luckily most of my best friends were always the coolest guys ever and surprised me with tickets, dinners, etc., forcing me to come, because it had already been paid for, and one of them even sneakily gave me money to pay for my own ticket stuff, etc., just to show the other guys I could sometimes pay too. I love them. Let's say tears of kindness have been shed many times. Constant fear. Someone called me out recently. I haven't dated in a while. They were setting up a profile on Tinder and I didn't want to join because, well, I have no job ATM. It was a nice call out because they also followed it up by saying being poor shouldn't cost you being alone. I don't date or flirt. I have 3 cats. I am incredibly poor and ashamed. Hiding money, stuffed in bras, in books, in cupboards, anywhere except a change jar or a wallet. They wash and reuse Ziploc bags until the bags fall apart. I grew up low income and I always wondered why everyone else's Ziplocs looked so fresh. When their car is always on empty and they only put in enough gas to get to where they're going. My friend has never had an abundance of wealth, so when I asked why she does that she said that it's like there's $20 or $30 just sitting in your tank that you can't use right now, and that money can be the difference between your food for the day or not. I work with kids and here's my first sign of it. Shoes. Clothes can be bought at a thrift store for relatively cheap prices or get donated to you, sometimes even by the schools. But shoes is this one thing that people take for granted. But if you're low income or poor you try to wear your shoes for as long as you can. Even if half of the sole is unsticking and you have to duct tape it to have it stay. I've seen a lot of kids' shoes and some of those kill me, especially in low income schools. Being way too into lotto. I heard somebody say it's the 401k of desperation. Can't retire if you don't play. A kid I know through work. He's 15 or 16. Never seemed like he came from a poorer family than most of the rest of us until January this year when we were discussing Christmas presents. A girl the same age as him got the newest iPhone for Christmas, and so did her sister. When asked what his best Christmas present was, this guy talked about coloring books and a big set of colored pens. I used to get kind of jealous and sad when I was a poor kid growing up, but after one particularly hard year watching my family struggle to make ends meet or keep the electric on, all I got for Christmas was a handmade leather wallet from my stepmom. It had my initials and a wolf carved into it. I still use it 14 years later. Best present I ever got. Being seen as the hard worker at work. Not that they want to be an overachiever or not that they have a naturally hard work ethic, but knowing that their pay depends on their performance and are afraid of losing a job for being seen as lazy or slow. I had a job where I started off making good money, but over time it slowly got worse and worse and I made less and less until I realized I didn't have enough saved up to take time off to go job hunting. By then my second daughter had been born and I knew less time at work meant less food on the table. Working in restaurants, living off tips in case anyone is wondering. It's a terrible feeling when you get gas and groceries after an exhausting shift and realizing you now have less money than when you started your shift. I've noticed that when a kid from a low-income household gets a name brand sweater or shirt, it will usually have an obnoxiously big logo on it. I assume brands make them a little cheaper than shirts with a more subtle logo to target lower-income people on purpose. It's brand name. Everyone will see it and cheaper. Triple whammy. They don't pay at the pump because they only have a little cash and no access to credit cards. Many of our pumps in Australia are starting to have this feature. I go into the register anyway out of sheer habit. Also, if I want to grab a drink or something, it's not like I can unless I go inside. Eating lots of fast food. Sure, eating out is supposed to be more expensive, but $1 burgers are pretty cheap, and who has time to make food when you're working 3 jobs? Always wanting to walk everywhere, even if it's a considerable distance. This is me BTW. I've convinced my friends to walk as far as 3 miles with me so I wouldn't have to fork in money for an Uber. They hate me for it and usually call an Uber or get someone with a car to drive us anyway. But unless it's more than 4 or 5 miles, I always suggest walking. My friend wants to walk everywhere all the freaking time in the sun, rain, snow, whatever. She's not poor though. She told me she just loves walking around in the city. It's either that or she hates when I drive her around in my old ass car. Being really handy, or having I'll fix that at the first solution for something breaking, even if it was something cheap to replace. Knowing where everything is in multiple grocery stores and how much it costs off the top of their heads. You don't usually track stuff to that detail when pennies don't matter. Having odd clothing patterns. I'd always buy stuff at the thrift shop and jeans and shoes cost a few dollars each, so I'd wear the same couple pairs forever. But shirts were always on sale for as low as 30-50 cents each, so I'd have a strong rotation of shirts to wear. Raiding donation bags of friends or roommates before they go to Goodwill. Offering to take the bag to Goodwill to hide that you really kept the whole bag. Bad teeth. Me eye roll. I really need braces. I think my rich friends from university are just clueless why I wouldn't want to look better. No crap, I want braces. I ain't got the money. They get excited about odd things. I offered to take a friend to Applebee's for his birthday. He got all dressed up for Applebee's and said he wasn't used to fancy dining. That clued me in that we make considerably different amount of money. To a lot of people, eating at any place that actually has a wait staff is fine dining. You have been visited by the tourist dog. Comment photos everywhere to get an exciting trip full of adventures. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.